What up, fight fans all around the world? Welcome to the Big Man Boxing Podcast, and I am Chris the Big Man. So yesterday, Andy Destroyer Ruiz was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Andy Cinderella Man Ruiz visited the Joe Rogan podcast, a platform that is one of the most influential when it comes to any talking point in the world. Joe Rogan, in my opinion, is the most influential voice when it comes to podcasting. He has had conversations with the most influential people all around the world, including billionaires, Elon Musk, actors, comedians, anybody. Everyone goes on a JRA podcast, including top boxers like Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. So I wasn't surprised to see Andrew Ruiz visit the JRA podcast. Andrew Ruiz's story is a Cinderella story. It's a story of coming from nothing to everything, coming from being a name that wasn't even paid attention to in the heavyweight division to becoming the man of the division. Andrew Ruiz is the man of the division, in my opinion. Barring Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, Andrew Ruiz is the man. And let me say this, let me give a disclaimer to every alpha brain fanboy out there who would think I'm hating on Joe Rogan. No, I'm not. I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan as a man. I'm a big fan and I respect his beliefs, his opinions. I respect his knowledge of martial arts, mixed martial arts. I respect his commentary. I really look forward to hearing him talking about fights during the UFC event, during the big UFC event. I have nothing bad to say about it. But the truth is that Joe Rogan is a casual when it comes to boxing. It might be a don when he's talking about mixed martial arts, when he's talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It might be the most knowledgeable voice out there. But when it comes to boxing, Joe Rogan is a casual fan. He's only there for the big fights. Only there for the popular point of discussion. And that's what frustrates me when fighters come on his platform, especially boxers, and they coin and tell lies and twist the truth to suit them. And there's no voice on this platform to check them on what they're saying. The same way Joe Rogan would check a politician or someone who has an opinion about something in the world today, Joe Rogan is always there to ask the questions that need to be asked. But when it comes to boxing, this man knows nothing. So back to the interview. The interview was going fine. Andy Ruiz was talking about how he felt becoming the man in the heavyweight division. Joe Rogan was trying to pick his brains, trying to find out what it feels like to come from nothing to everything. Joe Rogan went further to ask him questions about his diet, about his training, conditioning, blase. But the typical Andy Ruiz I know wouldn't be able to go halfway through a podcast without taking cheap shots at Anthony Joshua. You see, it's one thing to take cheap shots at a man when he's at his highest point, when he's doing fine. But to take cheap shots at a man when he's down, that is weakening. That's a weakling move there. That's a dishonest flaw in your character. I'm speaking of Ruiz. So, Joe Rogan asked Andy Ruiz, after your rematch with Joshua, and when you win, well, I would say, and if you win, what do you want next? And I was surprised that Andy didn't say Deontay Wilder, because I would assume unification should come next for him. That's the most important thing in boxing today. He said he wanted Tyson Fury. He said he wanted to face Tyson Fury. And then he said, I like Dillian Whyte. Now, if you were not living under a rock, you will know that the name Dylan White doesn't just come attached to body snatcher. The name Dylan White is synonymous right now in this landscape to PED user, drug cheat, Dylan, Juicy White, and all that sort. Because immediately after Dylan White fought Rivers and became the mandatory challenger to Deontay Wilder's WBC belt, news leaked that Dylan White had failed a drug test. News leaked that UCAD had noticed a banned substance in Dylan White's test. UCAD, UK Anti-Doping Commission. UCAD, I repeat UCAD vehemently, because on this podcast, they were speaking about VADA. All they talked about was VADA, as if it was VADA that caught Dylan White. They were speaking about VADA as if it was VADA that detected the banned substance in Dylan White, not giving credit to the organization who actually found the banned substance in Dylan White. UCAD. UK Anti-Doping Commission, not VADA. And even though White has been part of the VADA clean boxing program year-round for so long, it wasn't VADA that found out about this adverse effects in his test. It wasn't VADA. It wasn't VADA. It was UCAD. And why is it important that I emphasize that it was UCAD? Because Ruiz is trying to coin the narrative that fighting taking the rematch in the UK will allow Anthony Joshua to take PEDs. Dylan White is a UK fighter. He's a British fighter based in the UK. All his pay-per-view, all his biggest fights have been in the UK. And still, he failed a drug test for UCAD, UK Anti-Doping Commission, not VADA. So, if there's any proof of the transparency of UCAD, is the fact that as a UK-based anti-doping commission, they are catching UK fighters also. So if there's any fear of Joshua getting away with so much, where does that fear come from? Are you afraid of the fans? Are you afraid of fighting in the stadium? Are you afraid of losing the belts you just won? What's your fear, Ruiz? What is your fear? What are you afraid of? Why are you always bringing up this excuse? Putting everything out there to avoid taking this fight in the UK against Joshua. Why? You see, I was on your side, Ruiz. I really wanted Joshua to correct the mistakes he made against you, where it all started in New York at the Madison Square Garden. I really wanted Joshua to go to the United States to take this rematch as a point of honor, to redeem his image, to take away the crutch of fighting in the UK from him. Because if this fight takes place in the UK, in Joshua's subconscious mind, and maybe I'm wrong, there's always going to be something in his mind telling him that his best performance is in the UK. He's not going to want to venture out again, because venturing out of the UK brings bad memory for him. And there's nothing wrong with fighting at home. A lot of fighters that you respect as fight fans have done this. Floyd Mayweather, all his fights were in the United States. All his pro fights were in the United States. Current WBC heavyweight champion. He has defended all his title defenses. All his fights have been in the United States. 90% of which have been in Alabama. So, there are fighters out there that go their whole career fighting at home. But I really want to see Joshua go out there, go around the world, and not taking this rematch in the United States where he lost. I think that would not be a good impression. But with the way Andrew Ruiz is acting right now, with the way he's acting like a diva, with the way he's speaking all these lies, I actually won't mind seeing him being dragged to the UK for the rematch. I actually would not mind seeing him get hided, get booed by the UK fans. I wouldn't mind seeing him coming to the Lions Den because he has talked so much shit. He has really said so much. And now he's accusing Joshua of PEDs. I think it's time you get on a plane and come to the UK, Andy. You've said so much. Joe Rogan is amazing when it comes to mixed martial arts. He's amazing when it comes to talking about life, talking about politics, talking about the future. But when it comes to boxing, people tend to get away with telling lies. And that's what frustrates me about the interview that took place yesterday. Andy Ruiz accused Joshua of taking PEDs, indirectly saying he believes or he fears that Joshua will get away with using drugs in the UK. But it was a UK anti-doping commission that caught Dylan White. If you just want to put your fears out there, Andy, don't use Dylan White as an excuse because it doesn't make sense. It wasn't Nevada that found the banned substance in Dylan White. It was UCAD. It was UCAD. I'm emphasizing that because there are some ignorant people out there who believe everything that comes out of the mouth of Andy Ruiz. It was UCAD. That's all I have to say on this topic. It was frustrating hearing him accusing Joshua, another man accusing Joshua of taking PEDs. Don't be surprised if sometime in the future, Andy fails a drug test. Now that he's the king of Mexico and he's visiting the president of Mexico, I won't be surprised if he eats some clenbuterol infested meat, Mexican meat, and fails a drug test. Another example of Joe Rogan's ignorance when it comes to boxing, and I recount when Deontay Wilder was on the Joe Rogan podcast. They were talking about how hot the heavyweight division is right now, how exciting it is. Then their conversation shifted to how boring and how quiet the heavyweight division was under the era of Vladimir Klitschko and the Klitschkos in general. And somehow that conversation shifted to the cruiserweights and how unfortunate it is that the cruiserweight is such a quiet, unnoticed weight class in boxing. But how can you talk about the cruiserweight division, Joe Rogan, without knowing that there was a man who just unified all the titles in the cruiserweight division, Alexander Usyk? How can you talk about the cruiserweight division in such a light without knowing about Alexander Usyk? How can you know about Vasily Lomachenko, Joe Rogan, and you didn't bring the word Alexander Usyk into your discussion of the cruiserweight division? That, my friends, is a casual fan move. That, my friends, is a person who has little to no knowledge about the details and the intricacies of boxing. That, my friend, is a man who is just there for the big fights, for the popular opinions, for the popular news. And that man, my friends, is Joe Rogan. I respect him when it comes to MMA. I respect him when he talks about BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where he has a black belt. I respect him when he's giving commentary, even though he's not the best in all the big UFC fights. But when it comes to boxing, this man knows nothing. That's all I have to say. That's my reflection on how Andy Ruiz interview with Joe Rogan went. As the last time I checked, it was 332,000 viewers and almost an hour of talking with Joe Rogan. That's all I have to say on the Big Man Boxing Podcast. And as usual, I am Chris the Big Man. Have a great day. Peace.